Hello, and welcome back to Emmy Law's YouTube channel, your go-to source for valuable insights on legal matters. I'm your host, founder, and principal lawyer of Emmy Law, and today we're going to be discussing how to get your facts straight and how to conduct effective research for civil litigation cases. Effective research is crucial for success in any civil litigation case, whether you are a lawyer preparing for trial or an individual representing yourself. Getting your facts straight is key. Here are some tips on how to conduct effective research for your civil litigation case. First, you need to understand your legal issues before diving into research. Make sure you have a clear understanding of the legal issues in your case and the opposing party's case. This should be done in the beginning when you are collecting information from your client if you're a lawyer, or when you're organizing your timeline with your facts. This will help you to focus your research efforts and find all the relevant information. It's important that for every cause of action, you have your facts outlined to prove that cause of action, and then you have your damages that is a result of that cause of action that you are claiming for. Okay? Whether it's negligence, whether it's breach of contract, whether it's, every single cause of action you're going to claim, economic loss, whether it's someone interfering in, your economic enterprise, all those causes of action you have and you're claiming, you need to have facts on those causes of actions, and you need to be able to understand the case law and do the research on those causes of action. So it's important you sit and you meet, if you're a lawyer, with your client, and you obtain all the evidence, all the information. You then organize it to fit the causes of action you and the client discuss that you're intending to move forward on. Sometimes you actually need to sit and get that information from the client first, digest it, move it to its proper, do some research, and then go to the client and say, through a legal opinion, and say, this is the different various causes of action, this is the kind of case law you're dealing with, this is what you're going to have to prove, this is the difficulty you're going to have, and based on that, this is what we recommend. So it's always good to do that, and then that way the client is always part of their case. Or if you're self-represented, you can almost do the same thing, but it's very difficult if you don't know where to find the case law and so forth. So, or what the causes of action and so forth that you have. So it's always advisable to you to get a lawyer. Now, second, the number two part of getting your facts straight and conducting your research is you need to use reliable sources. When you do your legal research, it's important to use these reliable sources. This includes legal databases, for example, public websites that publish cases, like in Ontario and throughout Canada, you have CanLII, right? You also need to look at court opinions. You need to look at statutes and regulations. And a big thing is you need to avoid relying on unreliable sources such as social media, unless you follow a whole bunch of lawyers and the lawyers are posting references to cases and providing you a link with those cases. It's always a good tool to look at that if you are a lawyer, to see what kind of cases are coming up, because every time new cases are published, there's bound to be a lawyer out there that's going to talk about it, and you could see whether it fits in the current issue you're dealing with. Now, if you're a lawyer, you should always keep up to date with the law, and this is by the way you could do that is by attending programs which are offered through various different associations. Like you have the Canadian Bar Association, you have the Ontario Bar Association, you have the Advocate Society, and so forth. And there are programs offered by law schools, such as August Good has the continuing professional development courses. It's always good to refresh and keep updated, because the law is always changing. It could be one thing one day, the next it's something else. So it's always good to look at that. Same thing with self-represented individuals. Like the government, there are resources out there that you have access to. Like you could access by doing searches on, locating cases. Like I said, Canly has excellent resource. It's an excellent free resource. You could search it a certain way. You could search under certain jurisdiction, under provinces. They have BC, British Columbia, they have every single province in Canada, and then you search and you can find your stuff like that. Okay. You should also really, really check, like I keep stressing, case law, because I think it's a valuable resource in any civil litigation cases. You need to look for cases that are similar to yours and see how the courts have ruled on similar issues. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be arguing just because a case is dealing with one specific issue. It's just that case will relate to that specific issue, and then you'll find another case that relates to another specific another issue. So it's important that you have access to that. Another thing is that if you are a lawyer, there are programs that you could purchase through LexisNexis or Westlaw. Those ones are additional to access to Westlaw. So if you have the access to case law stuff, you can also purchase additional things that can help guide you in how to approach certain matters. So they can have some commentary. There's some books and so forth, and there's also, I think, precedents that they give you the ability to see how things were done in the past. You also need to review the statutes and regulations. In addition to the case law, statute and regulations can be important sources of law in civil litigation cases. Make sure to review all your statutes and regulations to understand the legal framework of your case. And you're going to be putting in your claims, in your actions or applications, the law that you intend to rely on, right? So if you intend to rely on, let's say, the Business Corporation Act, the Ontario Business Corporation Act, or the Canada Business Corporation Act, or, the Succession Law Reform, or, the Estates Act, you need to put that in your actual documents. Another research tool that you can use is that you can look at secondary sources. So what's really cool out there is that lawyers, you do have access to your local law library, the courthouses, some of them outside, like Toronto. The library of access to would be the Law Society of Ontario. They have a law library, I believe, at in there, so you can have access in there. Sorry, yeah, they do, because there's two courthouses near the law library, so they've actually just near the Law Society of Ontario. So they have the law library in there. But you can also, like Peel Region, for example, Peel covers areas of Brampton, Mississauga. They have a law library within the big courthouse there. And same thing for out in Oshawa. So every courthouse will have a law library. You have access to that law library to access texts and sources, and also to access those are secondary sources. You also have the ability to access cases on there. They have access, from my understanding, to case research stuff that you would normally have to purchase if you're in a firm. You could purchase if you're in a big firm. They have it. Some firms have access to those case searches. But you, as a lawyer, have access to that just by virtue of being a lawyer and virtue of going to the courthouse. So you need to use that. The secondary sources includes like legal textbooks, as I said, journals, and treaties. You could do the hand search stuff, which will provide you the background information and help you analyze your legal issues on a much greater scale. Like, secondary sources will be able to tell you the history of the developing area of law that you're looking at. Instead of, you can read that from the cases, but it's just better to kind of read it in a book with some commentary on it and the reason why things changed, right? You also have to consider whether you're for a self-rep. There are libraries like the Toronto, for example, Toronto Reference Library that are really big, that offer some of the ability to have access to some of these books. So visit your local library. You can get access to some of these books there. Now, That goes for every province. So British Columbia, there is law libraries available there for lawyers and so forth. You need to consider reviewing practical guidance and practice directions. For every province, there are different practice guides and directions on how things are done. In terms of, like, let's say how the court wants you formatting certain things. So you need to look at that. And then also you need to look at the practice guides and practice manuals can be very helpful. As I said, like, some of these resources that you can purchase have the ability for you to have like a practice direction to tell you like this certain things about a specific thing you need research on. So and provide you feedback. So if you want feedback, if you want information on what it means to pass accounts in an estate issue, you can read the secondary sources produced by lawyers and legal analysts, legal advisors, legal writers, and then you can understand like what direction you need to take in terms of additional resources. They do offer some of these practical guides, do offer step-by-step guidance on how do you handle different aspects of litigation, such as drafting your pleadings and conducting discoveries, and as I mentioned, putting together an order, putting together motions. In some jurisdictions, courts will want court documents written a certain way, as I mentioned. So it's essential that you're aware of what that specific court in the jurisdiction you're appearing in front of likes things done. So Ontario is completely different than appearing in the court. Appearing in Ontario court is completely different than appearing in a court in British Columbia. It's the same mannerisms, the way you address the court, but how things are done is completely different. There are some things that overlap, but some of the things are different. You should always update your research. Laws and legal interpretations change over time. Make sure that you update your research regularly, especially if your case is still before the courts. Ensure that you have the most current information available. For example, some people will write, before something hits an appeal court, some people will write claims stating that, a lower judge decided on this, and then a matter hits an appeal court, the appeal court decides differently, but meanwhile there's a claim that's in the court that still has what I would say this bad law in it, and, it's up to you to clarify your position on this bad law, and regardless of whether a matter going from a court of appeal to the Supreme Court to be decided. If it isn't decided in the Supreme Court, it's not law. So you have to understand that. So if it's bad law, if it wasn't it got negative treatment in the Court of Appeal, and the law is not one that the Court of Appeal acknowledges, therefore your position should be that the law it's not good law. Okay? So you need to always keep up to date with that because things are always changing. Now, by following these steps and conducting thorough research, you can ensure that you have a solid foundation for your litigation case. If you need assistance with your case, consider seeking advice from a qualified legal professional. At ME Law, we're here to help you navigate the complexities of civil litigation. Remember, today's information is legal advice. If you need personalized guidance, visit us at www.melaw.ca. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much and have a good day.